This is my new Orbea Orca. Isn't it a beauty? And it's super light, but not especially aero. I'm going to tell you everything about it, how I've set it up and why, Freehub soundcheck it, and of course, weigh it for you wonderful people. I'm also going to tell you why I've gone for lightweight and not aero. So here it is. What a beauty. This one's got the bare carbon finish on it, which I really like the look of it. I love the way it shines in the light. And I'm also told it's actually a bit lighter than the painted finishes, so great. And then the Orbea logos are in this kind of like sort of teal effect, which looks rather nice. Although I didn't pick the paint job on this particular one. However, if you go on the Orbea website, you can go in their Myo app and completely configure your own paint job at no extra cost, which is an amazing feature. Now, before we go any further, full disclosure, here at GCN, we are sponsored by Orbea, which is great, but it does mean that what you're about to watch is not a review. I can't stress that enough. It's that classic adage of, you know, when we speak to pro riders at races and stuff and we say, what's the best bike? It's always the one that they're riding. That said, I can tell you about how I set it up, why I've spec'd all the different things on it, and also why I've opted for the lightweight option, despite also having the aero bike that Orbea makes available to me. And when I saw Sai's video on this bike when it first launched a month ago, it intrigued me because in several ways it feels like it's a step backwards, you know, with its like round seat post and its round tubes, round handlebar and high seat stays. But I mean, I'm a car guy and I think of it a bit like where you've got like Singer 911s and like Eagle E-types, where you've got something that used to be, you know, amazing back in the day, but then it's been reimagined and then just made better with like modern technology. And it feels like that's a good analogy for what is kind of going on here. You know, you've got the more modern layup techniques. You've got fully integrated cables, so it just looks cleaner and nicer. And you've got the added functionality of better brakes. And that said, round tubes, bikes were made with the high seat stays and round tubes for a very long time, but for very good reason, because it's light and incredibly stiff. And when I watched Sai's video that he did with Feather, where they were riding this versus the Aero one up a climb, and I did some calculations, which we showed in the tech show, and I worked out the differences between the two bikes. Yes, in most scenarios, the aero bike is going to be faster. It's going to absolutely destroy it on the flat and across a rolling course. It's going to destroy it. But in one key area, this wins. And that is long, like epic climbs. And so when I modelled this on Sakalobra with the weight difference and the aero difference of the two bikes, for me, it's coming out as being around 20 to 25 seconds quicker than the aero one, which for me is a lot. And when I distill cycling down in terms of like what I enjoy the most, it's like, it is just like flogging myself and going as quick as I can and trying to set PBs on climbs like that. That's my absolute favourite thing. And also just racing my mates and my brother and trying to beat them and drop them, which I don't always manage to do, but such is life. When I go on a cycling holiday with my mates, no one remembers who was fastest through the valley floor, but everyone remembers which of like your group of mates was first to the top of Alpe d'Huez. So there you go. And like, you know, lightweight bikes just feel mint, don't they? The Groupset is Zorro Ace Di2 12-speed throughout. Great. But my gearing at the back, that might surprise you a little bit. So I've got the 1134 cassette on there rather than the 1130, which seems to come as standard with the new 12-speed Groupset. That is my favourite thing about 12-speed. I think it's great, and I think that should be the standard option rather than the kind of 1130, which seems to be what most bikes automatically come with. Having that 34 gear is so useful. I find that it allows me to, even when I'm going hard on like long climbs, I use that gear. It allows me to spin my legs more and also just stay seated for longer, which is, you know, more efficient, and a bit more like aerodynamic. I mean, way more difference than the actual sort of bike frame. Your body makes most of the aerodynamic difference. So yeah, that's, yeah, 34 cassette. And wax chain patrol, of course it is. What do you take me for? You see a load of wax in there. First thing I do when I get a new bike now, I've just got into the habit of it, take the chain off while it's still clean and new and not been ridden, strip it, wax it, done. Up front, I've got a 52-36 mid-compact chain set, which again, ideal for climbing. I find for me, that's good, especially when paired with that 34. And that's mounted on a Quark D4 power meter. So at present, we don't have a power meter sponsor on GCN, so that gives me a bit of freedom to use whatever I want. I just really rate Quarks. I've got one on my TT bike as well at the moment. The cranks on there, quite interesting. That's 170 millimeters. Normally at my size, which is 185 centimeters, bikes tend to come with slightly longer cranks than that. But I've just found that switching to slightly shorter cranks, I just prefer it. I feel I can spin more, and again, just helps me stay seated on climbs, and I get along well with it. The pedals on there, my trusty Wahoo Aero speed plays. I just really get along with speed play pedals. I like how low the stack is compared to other pedal types. So the gap between the pedal axle and your foot. And it just makes me feel a little bit more connected. Also, you have a lot of float control on speed play cleats, but I tend to wind that right in, so I don't have much float at all, and again, I like that. To accommodate this power meter into the bottom bracket, we've got a dub, SRAM dub bottom bracket fitted in there too. Wheels are Vision Metron SL45s. Now, in terms of wheel depth, we often get asked that here at GCN, like what's the best? Now, I do have the option to swap out wheels and put thinner, lighter ones in and more aero ones in if I need to, which is great. But I find that for most riding, a 45 just feels like the best all-round depth for me. If you're a lighter rider, then it might be a bit too deep for you and it might feel a bit twitchy in the wind. But, I weigh around sort of 69 kilograms, and that's, yeah, I get on well with that. It's that good balance between handling, aero, and lightweight. And when you actually start to, again, model the effect of the weight penalty of slightly deeper wheels on alpine climbs around sort of 6, 7, 8% gradient, a bit like Sakalobra, you find that within that range, if you're going for it, the depth of the wheel, the added aero benefit that you get often offsets the weight penalty. So you more or less tend to sort of break even. That said, if I was going for like a pure kind of hill climbing setup, probably would go for a lighter, shallower wheel. On these wheels, they are tubeless compatible, but I've got them set up with Pirelli's P0 TT tyre and TPU tubes. So for that weight saving and rolling resistance gain, for trying to do sort of PB efforts on long climbs. Let's Freehub sound check them. Right. Look at that. Not dragging at all. I knew it was going to sound good because I greased it myself, so there you go. Anyway, yeah, nice. In terms of brake rotors, got 140 on the back, which is good because it saves a bit of weight, because also if you use the 160, there's an additional mounting plate that you put under the brake caliper onto the direct mount on the frame. I am fine with a 140 on the back. On the front, however, I've got a 160. Now, there's no additional plate required, so you don't have to worry about that. But it does weigh a bit more than a 140. And in previous GCN videos, you will have seen me saying 140 is a weight saving for the front brake caliper. It is, but with loads of riding that I do about 20,000 kilometers of riding a year, I've found that I prefer a 160 on the front. I've changed. There you go. Said it, because you get superior stopping power, and crucially, your rotors last a lot longer. The 140s on the front, I find that I was just burning through them quicker than I would have liked. And so for the superior stopping and the better descending performance, because I still do love descending, yeah, 160s on the front is what I'd recommend. Saddle, we've got a C59 Cella Italia on here, which is super light, 59 grams. Now, this is on here because, well, I do actually find it really comfortable. The shape is really good for me. I do also use the SLR Boost, which is a slightly heavier saddle, so this is kind of in hill climb mode. If I was doing a super, super long epic ride, I'd put on the SLR Boost, but for riding, 100 kilometers or so, that I'd absolutely get along with it fine, and it saves a load of weight. The stem on here is Orbea's own stem, which integrates the cables in, and it's 120 millimeters, and the bars are Orbea's carbon bars, 38 centimeters end to end, so very narrow. I like narrow bars. I mean, I'm not especially wide, I'm quite narrow, so for me that is like the optimum width. I feel really comfortable. If I go down to 36s, I feel a little bit of like strain in my shoulders. Bar tape on here, we've got some really nice lizard skins bar tape, which is just really like cushy in your hand. I really like the way it feels. And do you know what, like just all my bikes in the last few years have had Aero handlebars, which are great. They're Aero, they're fast when you're riding fast and stuff, but round bars do feel nice. There's no denying it. So in terms of the sort of setup and my saddle height and measurements and all the rest of it, I had a Cella Italia ID match bike fit a couple of years ago, did a video on it, and that was quite a transformative thing for me in terms of how I set up all my bikes, and I feel it helped me go up a level with the riding I do. I set up all my bikes in that way now, and the two key areas where it helped was having more layback on my saddle. So I've got the -20 layback seat post instead of the straight up one. That helped me get more power out when I was seated, and I just feel more comfortable climbing seated and stuff now. The other area is it shifted my weight on the bike less off the front end and evenly distributed my weight over the bike. So, you talk about it in cars, 50-50 weight distribution, better for handling. And I feel that descending now, I'm descending faster than I was several years ago because my weight is just better distributed on the bike. So yeah, something to consider for yourself, I guess. Other details on here, we've got these really nice Topeak carbon cages, which are very, very light. So, enough jibber jabber. Let's get to it. Let's weigh it. I've not actually weighed this bike yet, set up like this, so I'm keen to see what it hits the scales at. Place your bets now. Oh! 6.74. We're UCI illegal with pedals and a power meter. So there you have it. I'm delighted that this is below the UCI weight limit. They've got no jurisdiction here. But let us know, was that more or less than what you were expecting? Yeah, I'm pleased with that. 28mm tyres as well. I could go 25 and save a bit more weight and still be good. Yeah, let us know if you've got any questions about the bike and how I've set it up, and let us know your thoughts on it in the comments. I can't wait to hit some epic climbs with this, so keep an eye out for it in future GCN videos and subscribe if you don't want to miss that stuff. And well, I'll see you in the next one. Love you. Bye.